that? Never mind that. What was that?
Hi!
Who are you?
Barf!
Not in here, mister. This is a Mercedes.
Nah, that's my name. Barf!
Barf? What are you?
And here we go. BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 4, Episode 14. And we're coming to you live from the basement. And we'll talk more on that in a second. Joining me, as always, co-host of the show, making the long drive to the studio, owner Born to Run, Walt's here tonight. Walt, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me in studio.
Oh, sure. Thank you for coming all the way down from the Great White North.
And it was this morning.
Was it?
It was.
So we've had a studio relocation. You don't know about it because it's in all of its splendor. But we're joining. We're now broadcasting from the basement, and that's oddly appropriate. You're not used to this location, but I can tell you the knuckleheads have become very used to this basement of BARFF, and here it is. Here we are after another damn week of heartache and misery.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where we are. So the chat is live. The phone lines are live. We're going to discuss last miserable week. We're going to preview the final week, and there ain't a whole lot to talk about except for a couple teams jockeying for position for the bye. And we're going to talk about an interesting chart that no lineup throughout just this evening. Haven't really taken a hard look at it. Hopefully we'll get the graphic up on the screen where each team is placed into every other team's schedule points-wise by week and predicts what your record would be if you had played that other team's schedule.
So does no lineup realize the amount of alcohol you and I have drank over the last 40 years for us to figure this out?
Right,
I don't know if this is going to be possible.
It doesn't seem.
No,
like,
we might need directions
there's
here.
a whole lot that goes on here. So let's take a look at last week. There was really serious playoff implications, but we don't necessarily have to go too deep into those right now. Where do you want to start for week 13?
Let's talk about how I have secured the basement, the last place finish. I think probably potentially I got to go look at the archives. This could be my first ever last place finish in BARFF.
I think it very well may be your first last place finish. So the Born to Run. Again, playing the Springfield Rifle. We were joking last week. We were calling this the battle for last place. And to an extent, you won that battle. Springfield Rifle rises up 139-95 victory. The Rifle improved to 4-9, not good enough for playoffs. And Born to Run on a 3-game losing streak and falling to 3-10. Tell me about this game.
Well, it's just, this is a microcosm of the whole season. I started off with that really nice with Dak and, Brandon Cooks getting me 46, spot me, but then Ramonde got hurt first quarter.
Yeah.
Once I saw that, I'm like, okay. And then I don't know how Jordan planted DeAndre Swift on my team just to screw me because ever since the trade, he's done absolutely nothing. He's been horrible.
That seems like a trend for this year, and coincidentally, joining us on the line right now, the owner of Team Soaring Eagles, Jordan's on the line. Jordan, can you hear us? Uh-oh, hold on.
I heard something.
Wait, Jordan, can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Loud and clear. There he is, owner of Soaring Eagles. Jordan, we were just talking about the game between the Rifle and Born to Run, and Born to Run made the comment about you planting a beleaguered DeAndre Swift on their roster to submarine him. What do you think about that? Oh boy.
Soaring Eagles. Oh, he may just have lost connection.
Hello?
Oh, there he is.
You guys are
you're
coming
back.
in all choppy.
Okay.
Okay.
So I may have to jump off the line.
You want to talk how you fleeced me before you go off the line, or no?
No,
I'll just let you know that the Eagles are playoff ready. And very happy to get an easy win against the Moppers this week.
Very good, Jordan. Always good to hear from you. And
That was it.
He's out.
Hey.
He's out. Yeah, it seems.
I like his succinctness on his message.
Seems like he couldn't hear us, which makes me nervous. But we'll see. We'll see if anyone weighs in on the chat whether there's an audio problem out there. No,
audio's clear as day. Maybe just a bad cell connection.
Yeah,
now that we're, in our bunkered cellar here, so that maybe that's it.
I got. That's interesting. That could be the case. So the rifle, again, we've talked about how the rifle,
Rifle's got a good team.
That's a good team.
They really do.
Yeah, a 4-win team this year.
Yeah.
And, they prove it. They score 139 points. That's a winning
That's what I
performance.
mean. And, Devo just was ridiculous. He got that touchdown in garbage time, which kind of annoyed me. Whatever. It's... At this point, you just accept. You bend over, you grab your ankles, and say, "Whatever."
This is it.
I'm done. So
I agree. I know that feeling. I've been in spoiler mode for a better part of 3 weeks now. So, where do you want to go next?
We might as well take care of your heartbreak of a game.
Yep. So the Knuckleheads had a chance, outside chance at turning the spoiler train into a squeak into the playoffs train. But a spoiler train is what it is. It's a bad team trying to get something going against some other people to enjoy the misery of others for our own entertainment. And it failed this time. No lineup needed. Takes us out 129 to 114. It all came down to the last game Monday night. We needed Christian Kirk to do something. It looks like he pulled a nut or two.
He did something, all right.
And there he's out with 3 points. And Joe Mixon, former Knucklehead, rises up with a 28-point performance.
Isn't that outstanding when you get a guy turn on you like that?
Yeah, that's not good. I was trying to play. I think I overplayed the Christian game because my whole from the pod last week, I picked up Christian Watson, who was a no lineup cast off, and I tried to plug him in as the dagger, and he comes up with 27 points.
He came up huge, yeah.
But then the other Christian aspect of this completely blows out early in the game, national television. Everyone knows the Knucklehead season is over at that point. And that was it for me.
Yeah, plus, you're not the only owner that picked up Juwan Johnson.
Juwan Johnson.
Every owner thought the receivers are all banged up, whatever, and he did.
Yep. Taysom Hill didn't do much. Juwan Howard dropped basically 3 balls, including one that bounced off his hands right into the hands of the safety. Yeah. He contributed a lot to the other team, Juwan Johnson.
Oh, man.
Detroit appreciates him.
Yeah, it's a big fat goose egg.
Yeah,
which
if anyone wants him, he'll be available shortly.
Yeah, which was too bad because, no lineup, didn't get much out of, which was shocking to me. Kelsey and Mahomes against Green Bay.
Yeah, that's a big surprise. Gave us hope.
Yep.
And then there's the tragic Tank Dell situation, which seems to be another trend outside of these players that get traded and then kind of fade. Tank Dell didn't fade, but now he's out hurt. And the same thing happened to Huey last year with Cooper Kupp. So that's a tragedy. You put that capital into picking up these players, and then he's gone. He's done for the year.
Yep. No, I know. It's rough.
So Knuckleheads are back on the spoiler tracks, hoping to spoil one more owner's week, and that's it. That's it. Right, we're here in the basement.
We're where we deserve to be. Yep.
It smells a little musty down here. I like it.
Well, the last year was the rise of the old guys, and now the young guns all put us back into our place.
Yeah, well, I've been in my place for about 5 years. So. That's enough, young guns. I'm in my damn place. Leave me alone.
A lesson has been learned, all right? Ease up on the commish, for God's sake.
Lord, commish would love to be in the playoffs. I remember the playoffs. It was fun. It was exciting. But it's a distant memory. So where are we going now?
Let's see. Since the Eagles on there, let's go to Moppers against the Soaring Eagles because there are definitely some concerns for the Moppers, I think.
This is one of our teams early in the season. We're talking looked like a juggernaut. Is this finally the year? Both teams this week have an off week. Soaring Eagles take this one 105 to 84. But the 84 is alarming given some recent history with the Moppers and just this power outage. Tell me about this game.
Goff was okay, 18, but Singletary. Now, I got to say this. He had Diggs. He was on a bye. And that's, Jacoby Myers, that's not too bad to have.
Yeah.
But, I'm concerned about his running backs. The receivers are really good, but that quarterback, I don't know, tight end too. So I don't know. It just feels like the Moppers, you want to have the momentum going in, and they seem to be on the other side of that.
Yeah, they've had some tragedy at the quarterback position. Really snake bit two good quarterbacks out, and now they got Jared Goff and with Baker Mayfield coming off the bench. Mayfield has been starting for this team.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely. So he's got some tough decisions come playoff time.
Yeah, I agree.
For what he's going to do.
I agree. On the other side of the ball, a little bit of a power outage for Soren Eagles.
Yeah, definitely.
But even in an off week, these are still players. Tyreek Hill blows up, and
Tyreek Hill is unbelievable.
Tell me, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he only has 12, but I don't know. I saw some of this game. He sure looks like a player you want on your roster.
Oh yeah, yeah. It seemed to me they rushed him a couple times. He was involved, and that's what you always want, like targets and being involved in the offense. I will say, nothing gave me more satisfaction watching Calvin Ridley drop a ball that's the guy that I was happy to trade. But now he's got Nico Collins, which with Tank Dell
looks
now,
good.
right?
Looks
Yeah,
good.
so.
Yep.
The Eagles may not even skip a beat if they, put Calvin on the bench where he deserves to be.
So I'll look for a little insight from the veteran fantasy football owner. C.J. Stroud, is this an illusion? Can he continue? Is he going to set these rookie records and lead Soren Eagles into these playoffs?
I think he's going to be pretty solid. I think even on a game where maybe, he wasn't his best, it still matched Goff. So, yeah, I think the only game I don't like is the game against Cleveland. So you got Jets, Tennessee, and then Cleveland, which would be if you got the bye, that's coming off of that. That's your first game, and that could be a tough matchup,
Absolutely.
in my opinion.
Absolutely, Cleveland's defense is playing really great. Like a few teams, even the Patriots. I mean, the defense is playing well. It's just the offense is atrocious.
Exactly. So but I'd love to be in the position the Soren Eagles are in right now. They're riding high. They're on what's their winning streak now?
Oh God, I don't know. It's they are hot at the right time.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
So they what I said I would want to be if I were the Moppers.
Number one team. They've won the last two. They lead BARFF in second in BARFF in scoring.
Wow.
This is 100% playoff percentage. They were already locked up last week. Actually, all of our spots are locked up now, but we'll talk about that after we finish off the week.
Good for the Soren Eagles. They've been a little bit maligned, over the last few years of decision. He's done a good job this year, so kudos to him.
Yeah, he's doing it. He's in first place right now, heading into what is essentially a wash of a week for everybody. I mean, some teams want to be off for that bye.
Can I petition not to play my? I don't have to take another watch.
Right? Can we not play that last game? That would be terrific. And what does that leave us?
We got the worst team ever with a just big win.
This was huge for them because we talked about them last week, right? That maybe they were a little bit of a bubble team.
Yep.
And now they're solidly in. They're definitely in. And Brock Purdy comes back.
Oh yeah, Brock Purdy looked good. What I like for him is one, Kyron Williams, we've talked about it. Mm-hmm. When he's playing, he's like 20 points a week.
Yep.
And now Pollard's coming around. I love how the Saints are using Kamara. Olave looks great. Purdy's there, and he's going to get Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
So now let's plug Jefferson versus Adam Thielen in that lineup. Woo!
100%.
That's not a bad team. So, will the Black Cloud fall worst team ever? But I got to say, this is the 1 year. This strikes me as one of those, underdog teams that gets in, and then they make some noise come to playoffs. So, yeah.
I agree. I'm a little behind on the chat. I apologize. Kudos on the audio from the. Thank you for the feedback because it was torturous. Like the last two pods, and I'm jumping off the tracks here, but last two pods have been good. They've been fun. And then the audio, it's been a disaster, and you can't even watch it. So I'm glad that maybe it's being in the basement. Christian weighs in, RIP for Tank.
Yeah, I know.
And we talked about it already, but you had to think that he thought, hey, here's a sneaky 20-point-a-week guy going into the playoffs. Hard to replace.
Yeah, that sucks.
Hard to replace. And then...
Well, here we go. I'd say the biggest win in BARFF last week.
This was the biggest win in BARFF last week. Sody Pantloads, puts on a show, 158 points, taking out a solid performance from Boston Beans, who scored 143.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about this shootout. And I ain't keying up the graphics. I have another graphic ready to go. But this was definitely the shootout of the week.
Yeah, it's the same old formula for the Beans. You get a lot of points out of Hurts, a lot out of McCaffrey. Ingram had a great game. Mike Evans had a great game. I mean, you score 143 points. I mean, it's tough to complain. You can't do much more. Yep. And then, I think what's got to make the Pantloads happy was seeing the revival of Jamar Chase, that 33. I mean, that's what did it. That long touchdown. That was it. And the other thing I got to say, I was worried about the Pantloads because I just didn't think Jordan Love was going to be that effective against Kansas City. But, man, he carved them up. He was really, really good.
This is another player I'm gonna defer, and I'm gonna queue up the chat just so that I can see where people are at. But so we talked about C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love, hot at the right time of the season. Is this a player that's not only going to be able to take Sody Pantloads into the playoffs, but is Green Bay going anywhere now?
They're hot. I mean, what's Lamar done the last few weeks?
Right.
I mean. So I wouldn't want to be in the Pantloads position, except for the playoff part, but not making the choice, because I don't know. Sometimes you got to think about riding the high end, and Jordan Love's really, really hot, and I've been wrong a lot this season, pretty much almost on 90% of anything I've said. Rashad White is definitely that guy. Again. We talked about last week.
Yep.
Another 19 points. It's
much
ridiculous.
Much maligned in the pod, Rashad White, but Pantloads stuck with him and made the right decision. Sox fan 7687 weighs in that the Pantloads are like Bama making the college football playoffs. No one wants to play them. And, we have a rule change proposal.
Oh.
All right. No Lineup is weighing in. Rule change proposal for next year. Make the running back, wide receiver a true flex to add in the potential tight end usage if needed, because he wants to plug in Trey McBride for Tank. Hey, you're talking about this season is when you want to do that. No Lineup. I know what's happening here.
Oh, okay. I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
That might get some, I guess, people backing that up. That's not a bad thought.
Essentially, add the tight end into
it's a true flex. Yeah.
Well,
not the worst.
We'll ponder that as we move on through the pod. But this is, the Pantloads had knuckleheads breathing down their neck, and the knuckleheads performance made it a moot point. But it was interesting for a couple hours.
Yeah, I mean, it all came down to that Monday, Monday night game. So at least for Week 13, we had some intrigue and some suspense. I wish I could say for the Week 14.
Week 14, yeah.
This is uncharted territory.
Let's get Week 14 out of the way, only because, first thing I'm going to look at is the standings. And I'm sorry I'm not getting this up on the screen, but everyone's got the screen in front of them. Right now, your first place teams are Soaring Eagles and Boston Beans. They're both sitting at 9-4. The Soaring Eagles has the point differential going. In the second tier, you have three teams at 8-5. You have No Lineup, Worst Team Ever, and Whopper Moppers in that order by points scored. And then you've got Sody Pantloads locked up that last spot, 7-6. And that's it. That's not going to change as far as which 6 teams in BARFF make the playoffs.
Right.
What could change? Well, could it?
I think there's an outside shot of it happening.
One of these 8-5 teams wins, well, Christian has a chance. No Lineup with 1678. They lead in points scored.
Mm-hmm.
So if they get a win and end up with Soaring Eagles and Boston
and the Beans lose, right?
Yeah. Then they could lock up a bye. The point differential is so much for Worst Team Ever and Whopper Moppers.
Right. It ain't gonna happen.
There would have to be a pretty amazing performance.
Yeah.
So
there's our intrigue.
Yeah, that's it, right?
That's it.
Right. So let's look at the Week 14 the games. It's we'll start Boston Beans and Knuckleheads. I'm only going to start with that one because my team lost to Christian. But if the Beans had done their job last week, then I would still have a breath of life in my
So you got to take it out on them, right?
The Beans also beat me by 1 point earlier this season, as if any salt needed to be rubbed into these wounds. So knuckleheads are coming. The spoiler train continues to run. I've had this one circled.
Yep.
We're gonna
This
put
is
our
the
best foot
revenge game.
forward. This will be my final revenge statement of the year. Knuckleheads and Boston Beans. Right now it's prodigied ridiculously 127 to 111, but I was projected to lose by 40 points last week, and so that didn't happen either. So there, that's what I got for this week.
I like that. Well, look at mine then, because I'll throw the same thing out there and say, hey, I wouldn't mind actually. Love to see Christian have a chance at his first title. Maybe I can do my part and help him get that. Secure that bye. So, Christian, hopefully, I mean, you know me, I'm competitive. I'm not going to throw it, but hey, hopefully, I do my part and help you maybe lock up that second seed, which would be great for you.
Streaks are hard to maintain. You're on a 3-game skid. He's on a 5-game winning streak. One of those streaks has to end this week. Unless there's a tie. That would be tragic.
Yeah. I wouldn't even think what the odds would be for my team to tie anybody. So, we got, right now, granted, I got Ramonde in there. But a whopping 50-point differential on the point spread.
He had a big differential last week, and he was losing for a little while.
Good point.
I can hang my hat on that. I can't hang my hat on much else. So no lineup in Born to Run. That's another interesting game. Who else is playing this?
We got the Moppers and Huey.
Moppers and Huey. So Huey Lewis, talking about streaks, is on a skid. It's probably unprecedented. I don't know.
Yeah, now when's the last time he hasn't made the playoffs?
Right. It's been some.
Yeah.
He's always a successful owner, and a 5-game losing streak is almost unheard of. And he's taken on Whopper Moppers with fabulous matchups in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
None greater than the Buffalo playing Kansas City when you have Josh Allen as your quarterback. Does this carry Huey Lewis this week?
I mean, yeah.
Because unfortunately, Stephon Diggs is also playing Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm not AJ against Dallas. I'm not digging the Moppers, who he's got his matchups wise. I like honestly Josh Allen against KC. He's gonna have a big game, especially coming off a bye.
I think it's a shootout. Yeah, that could be an 80-point game.
Yeah, and Gibbs against Chicago. That's a nice matchup. He's going Puka Nacua. That's a tough one. I think the Moppers might be in trouble. I could see Huey pulling this one up.
This is one that I think the Moppers want to take.
To get a little momentum going in.
They don't want to limp into the playoffs.
Right.
So good luck to both, but we'll see how that one turns out. That'll be an interesting one.
Soaring Eagles against the Rifle.
Rifle.
Now, I would have looked at this and said, oh, this was like a preview of a playoff game.
Could be. Yeah.
But it's not. It's like I still can't get over it.
Look at these players on this Rifle lineup. But on the other side of the ball, this is a roster that's been constructed by Soaring Eagles based on moves. Players like C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins, and he's been riding Tyreek. He had that first-round draft pick.
Tyreek's been a stud.
It's absolutely insane, and I think that St. Brown is the same. So we'll see. Right now, the projections have the Rifle taking it. Soaring Eagles probably is sitting in first place with pride and wants that first-round bye.
Yeah, I gotta say though, if I had to pick kind of maybe the Achilles heel of the Soaring Eagles is, Jonathan Taylor, he's gone now. The running backs, do you trust Montgomery and Javonte Williams as your horses going into the playoffs?
I tell you, Montgomery is someone that we always tend to, I think,
undervalue. Yeah, definitely.
And Javonte Williams is playing for an offense that's resurgent. So, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, you would certainly want to look at players like, we talked about Eckler maybe being a little bit less of himself, but still a big name. Derrick Henry. These are solid.
They're coming on too, Henry. Yeah.
And so, you would say the edges to the Rifle, but I like what's going on in Soaring Eagles land for sure.
I mean, if you looked at the eyeball test and you just look at this, who would you have thought might have had the better record?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
With this,
It's
Tagovailoa.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's too bad the production from Henry wasn't there earlier on when I think the Rifle needed him in some key games.
I think that was pretty huge.
Yep, definitely.
He's coming up with single-digit games, and you don't expect that from him. So that pretty much sunk them early, and I don't think they really were able to recover.
So, last but not least, we got worst team ever against the Pantloads. And I'll say this, maybe this was the best thing that you lost and the Pantloads won because I don't have to hear the back and forth about this game, because it'll be contentious, obviously.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun of the games this week. This is the fun game, Civil War game. It's projected close.
Oh yeah, look at that.
There's always a little bit of back and forth with these owners, and now we get to enjoy it heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think Sox fans, he 32-76. This is the one he really lives for, is when he plays these.
But he is happy. Sox fan is that he gets to not experience hypertension this weekend, and so it should be a fairly relaxing week.
Yes,
for
it's
everybody.
nothing wrong with that when you have
It's fun.
But it's really what this next week is you just hope somebody key doesn't go down. That's the part I always hated, when you you clinched and you're in. You're just like, please, nobody get hurt, because it's devastating.
Those bye weeks too. What you don't want on those bye weeks is you don't want your team to score 175 points, because where you want that save.
Right.
Don't
Yeah, you figure they shot their wad already. No question about it.
Scary thoughts for sure. Scary thoughts. So yeah, that's a pretty boring week of games.
Yeah.
We'll see how the Civil War game goes. Everyone else is kind of playing for the sake of playing, and I'm gonna play to try to make whatever I can do to be inconvenient for the Beans, because they failed. They had one job. One job.
That's it.
Yeah, it's very depressing.
But at least next week we get to talk about playoff games and matchups, so that's going to be nice.
Next week will definitely be fun. So what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to get this chart that Christian sent, and we're gonna try to kind of.
All right, let's see if we can make sense of it.
Yeah, let me just get up there. So the premise of this chart is that if your team played another team's schedule, what would your record be? And so here's the chart. And so I can try to make it a little bit bigger for everybody. I'm gonna have to move it around from time to time. Let me see if I can't get this really big, because it's a pretty long chart. It's about as big as I can get it. So let's swap that over. So on the left-hand column, you see that's the team.
Mm-hmm.
And as you move down, actually that's not true yet. There's the left-hand column. So in the left-hand column is the team that you're looking at, and in the right, as you move down, it's the various teams.
Okay.
So, for example, here's the Knuckleheads, and if they are playing the Knucklehead schedule, they're predicted to finish 5-8.
Okay.
But if the Knuckleheads were playing the Soaring Eagles schedule next to that 5-8, then they would be projected to be 6-1. If the Knuckleheads were playing Sodi's schedule, then they would be predicted to go 6-7.
Okay.
If they were playing Born to Run schedule,
this makes me happy.
Predicted to be 5-8.
Huh.
If they were playing Worst Team Ever, Whopper Moppers, or Huey Lewis and the News schedule, they would also be predicted to be 5-8.
Wow.
And if I played No Lineup Needed or the Springfield Rifles schedule, it would be 7-6, which makes me happy, because all this 5-8 crap seems like nonsense to me.
Wow.
And if I played the Beans schedule, because the Beans must have had some really tough schedule,
okay.
4-8-1. So,
which now that's shocking to me.
Well, so yeah, I don't like it either, but I see that, as I see it, it must have been your points that for each week compared to what the opponents on that schedule scored. So pretty good premise.
I like it.
Let's take a look at the Soaring Eagles. This is our first place team. They're sitting at 9-3 right now. If they played the Knucklehead schedule, they would be 7-5-1. Playing their own schedule, they're predicted to be 9-4. So you're lucky you're not playing Knucklehead schedule. If we go over and they're playing Sody Pant Loads, then they would be predicted to be 10-3.
Wow.
If they played Born to Run schedule, 8-4-1 rather than 9-4.
Okay.
Which, they're factoring in the last week here also. If the Worst Team Ever schedule, 8-5. Whopper Moppers schedule has the Soaring Eagles 9-4. Huey Lewis's schedule has them at 7-6.
That's interesting.
If they played no lineup schedule, their schedule has them at 9-4. If they play no lineups, it's 10-3.
Wow.
The Rifle at 8-5, and the Beans also at 10-3. So clearly, it's not a strength of schedule thing. It is honestly how your team did in certain weeks. And the Soaring Eagles would have liked to have played the Boston Beans schedule.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's go over and pick a new team. Let's look at Sody Pantloads.
Oh, yeah, let's look at the pant load.
Check in on the chat before we jump in there too much. All right, everyone's still holding tight, and we'll come back in here. Sody Pantloads, if they played the Knucklehead schedule, would be predicted to be 9-4 on the year. Playing the Soaring Eagles schedule, it's the opposite. It's 4-9.
That's incredible
as
to
we
me.
move to the right from Sody.
Wow.
Pantloads, which tells you how fortunes can change in fantasy football. Playing their own schedule, predicted to finish at 7-6. Playing Born to Run schedule,
7-6 again.
Worst team ever, 6-1. Whopper Mopper's schedule would have put them at 8-5.
Wow.
Huey Lewis in the News, 5-8. No lineup needed schedule, 6-1. Springfield Rifles schedule, 6-7. And then the Boston Beans schedule would have had them at 7-6. So these teams that are these playoff teams that are sitting pretty, they caught people at the right time. But that's fantasy football.
Well, it is, and I
football.
think what that showed me is, the Pantloads are like a 500 team, more or less. No, it kind of
you average that
out.
Yeah.
So, I think it kind of it worked out pretty good. Very interesting. This is good stuff.
This is pretty good stuff. We're very thankful.
I just want to know if I'm going to get more than 3 wins on anybody's schedule.
Well,
we're doing
Born
me.
to Run is next. Born to
Beautiful.
Run, playing the Knucklehead schedule seems to they would be predicted to finish 5-8.
Okay.
Playing the Soaring Eagles schedule 5-8. So still out of
Right now,
contention.
I got the toughest schedule of any team.
Right now, playing Sody Pantload schedule 4-8-1.
Okay.
Playing Born to Run schedule 3-10. Playing Worst Team Ever schedule.
Oh, I don't like this
3-10.
trend.
Playing Whopper Mopper schedule
3-10.
3-10. Playing Huey Lewis in the News schedule 2-11.
Okay.
As we move this chart over. Playing No Lineup Needed schedule
5-8.
The Springfield Rifles schedule would have you at 4-9. And finally, Whopper Mopper schedule would have you at 6-7.
Oh boy, that's bullshit. No, I can't believe it.
I
would have had a chance
right?
to make the playoffs. Oh man, it was as what I thought it would be until that last one. Oh, that really hurt. That's like a dagger.
That is a dagger. Now let's look at Worst Team Ever schedule. Worst Team Ever, who I believe they're currently sitting at 7-6 or 7-5.
8-5.
8-5.
Yeah.
Yes. So if they played the Knucklehead schedule, they'd be 7-6. If they played the Soaring Eagles schedule, 7-6. If they played Sody Pantload's schedule, 6-7.
Ooh.
Quite a reversal of fortune there.
Throw a little gasoline on that rivalry right there.
If they played your schedule, 7-6, knocking a win out of that. Playing their own schedule, it's predicted to finish at 8-5. Whopper Mopper schedule, predicted to finish at 8-5. If they played Huey Lewis in the News' schedule, seems to be a trend, 5-8.
Huey had a tough schedule.
Huey had
It looks like
tough
this.
time with people this year. No lineup needed schedule would put them at 8-5. The Rifle schedule at 8-5. Oh, I'm screwing up graphics here. I gotta not do that. Nope, hold on. Sorry, my fault. See what happens after that. And Boston Beans schedule would have them at 6-7.
Wow.
And they would be on the outside.
So let me ask you this: everybody was, giving the Beans a hard time, saying they're lucky. But you're looking what other teams would have done in their schedule. I don't know.
It seems like the Beans might have had a little bit tougher sledding than they're giving credit.
Absolutely.
Whopper Moppers. Now here's a team that was a juggernaut, and we've been a little bit concerned with the end of the season performance. If they played the Knucklehead schedule 7-6, they'd still be a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
If they played the Soaring Eagles schedule 6-7, they'd be on the
fighting.
outside looking in. If they played Sody Pantload schedule 5-8 in the basement,
Look at this one.
Born to Run schedule 7-6. They'd be on the bubble. Worst team ever schedule 5-8. They'd be on the outside looking in. If they played their own schedule, 8-5, and safe as they are. Huey Lewis in the news schedule 7-6.
7-6.
So roughly safe. No lineup needed. Schedule 7-6, and Springfield Rifles schedule
6-7. And what's the Beans?
Beans 8-5.
So there's the outlier.
Yeah. So they would have done. They're the team. Actually, there's there's a couple teams that would have done okay on the Beans schedule. Actually, did I scroll all the way over for Soaring Eagles? Soaring Eagles would have been 10-3. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
So this tells me, I think, what a lot of the other owners have been saying about Tom. He's a fraud. That's the only way I can look at this.
Before we take a look at Huey Lewis and the News fortune against other schedules, Sox fan 7687.
Wow, me and Sox fan, we got one brain going.
Sox fan loves that BARFF has leveled up again with the data. Matthew Berry doesn't even have this. This is no lineup.
No lineup. Well done.
Intensive analytics. We love it here. Let's take a look at Huey Lewis and the News. They're joining us in the basement, and if they played the Knucklehead schedule, they would be where they are, 4-9, sitting in the basement. If they played the Soaring Eagles schedule, 5-8 in the basement. If they played the Pant Load schedule, 5-8 in the basement. Born to Run schedule would have them at 6-7, so they'd have some life.
Still, yeah, little life with
bubble.
me. Yeah.
Worst team ever, 5-8.
Wow.
Outside looking in. If they played the Whopper Mopper schedule, predicted 7-5-1 based on the results. So they'd be in the dance if they played the Mopper schedule. Huey Lewis and the News schedule has them in the cellar. Their own schedule 4-9. If they played no lineups schedule, 6-7, bubble-ish. Springfield Rifle 5-8 for a schedule, and if they played the Bean schedule, 5-7-1. So not a lot of relief for Huey Lewis.
No, except against a mopper. So I think that backs up the fraud comment. This data is very compelling right now.
It is telling a story. We are telling a story right now. Let's take a look at the provider of this data. No lineup needed. Playing the Knucklehead schedule, they'd be 8-5.
Right where they're at.
They are. If they played the Soaring Eagles schedule, they'd be 7-5-1, and they'd be in the dance.
Wow, now this is amazing.
If they played Sody Pant Load schedule, again, 8-5. If they played your schedule, 8-5. If they play Worst Team Ever's schedule, 8-5.
This is insane.
This is amazingly consistent. We go over to Whopper Mopper schedule, 8-4-1. They would have been. Huey Lewis and the News' schedule, 7-6.
Okay.
Still in
one
the
little
dance.
blip, but still in the playoff.
Still in the dance. No lineup needed. Their own schedule, 8-5. Springfield Rifles schedule, 9-4. And the Boston Beans schedule would have them at 8-5.
Wow.
No lineup. Safe all year. Didn't matter what happened. And they struggled a bit. They righted the ship, and they would have been here regardless. Playing just about anybody anyway.
Yeah. So looking with this, you can make a good argument that they're the favorite going in, right?
That's what I was just going to say.
That's kind of how I'm viewing it right now.
By the data, if we are just crunching numbers, I don't know how you can argue. I mean, we'll continue. Maybe the data says some more down the bottom.
Well, yeah, and go back to my previous drinking comment that maybe we may not be the best judges of data. So
that's true. That's
right? So, yeah.
Sox fan also says, no wonder no lineup pulled this down. Very
well, that's a good point, Sox fan. We have no way to validate any of this, if I could say that.
No, listen, I trust him.
Yeah, he's a data guy. He's not going to mess around with this.
Not messing around.
High integrity guy, too, on top of it.
Yes, absolutely. Friend of the show, Springfield Rifle now. A tough season, and we've been talking. This is going to really
I can't wait to see this.
What a good lineup they had, and they just had bad luck. So let's see. If they played the Knucklehead schedule, 5-7-1, and they're out. Soaring Eagles schedule, the same, 5-8, and they're out. If they played Sody Pant Load schedule, 4-9.
Oh, they ain't going to like this number.
Out. Born to Run, they played their schedule 8-4-1, and they're cruising to the dance.
Wow, can you imagine the reversal of fortune?
Right? That is a huge switch.
That is crazy.
Worst team ever schedule, 5-8 out of the dance. Whopper Mopper's schedule, 5-7-1, still out of the dance. This is consistent. Huey Lewis and the News schedule, 5-8 out of the dance. No lineup needed schedule puts them at 6-6-1, a bubble team. Their own record 4-9, and then the Beans has them at that bubble team at 6-7. So
well, maybe
we were a little starstruck. With
maybe
the Rifles lineup.
I go back to the I think the team turned it on more towards the end, and there was that point in the season where he wasn't just getting anything out of Henry or Eckler and yep.
All right, let's look at the Boston Beans.
The Beans. Let's see if we have another fraud among us.
All right, let me before we start this final run through, let me see if we've got anything added. We do not, and so Boston Beans, if they played the Knucklehead schedule, they'd be 8-5. If they played the Soaring Eagles schedule, they'd be 7-5.
They're still in
the dance. Let me scroll over. If they played Sody Pantload's schedule, they'd be 7-6. Still in. Born to Run schedule, 8-4-1. Still in. Worst team ever schedule, 6-1. Bubble team.
Very bubble.
Whopper Mopper schedule puts them at 8-5, safely in. Huey Lewis and the News schedule, 7-6, in the dance. No lineup schedule, 8-5, in the dance. Springfield Rifle schedule, 7-6. They're in, and then their own at 9-4. So I don't think that we have support for Boston Beans as a fraud.
No, I don't think so either. But I would say he's the one team, I guess, maxed out his record being with the schedule he had, right?
Yeah, he did the best with his schedule than he
would have won any other. That's
absolutely. Yep, that is interesting, and that is really amazing.
Yeah, that
insight.
Is awesome stuff.
I love it. So thank you to No Lineup.
Absolutely.
That data, that was a lot of fun, and it was really insightful. And we'll have to continue that as we move through the coming seasons. That would be good to look at.
Oh yeah, no, that was quite enlightening. Yeah, that's for sure.
Any of you guys who can math, if you can do that,
right?
Do the math. Do some of that stuff, and we'll talk about it.
I have no problem talking about it. Just don't make me do the work, right?
right. We'll happily discuss our opinions
exactly.
Of your analysis. That's great.
No question about that.
All right, I'm just gonna jump and see if anything came in on the text. The chat has grown quiet. That was an interesting show. It was an agonizing week for the Knuckleheads. It was a stressful week for Sody Pantloads, but the playoffs are set.
Playoffs are set. And I think for us that are going home early, all it does is galvanize us and say, okay, next year, I got to refocus, put the energy. I'll be the first to admit, maybe, I don't know, I tried to do everything I could, but, it just...
I've said it off air, and I'll say it on air. Your outside of fantasy football schedule and situation has been absolutely insane since the season started, since just before the season started. So I would say we'll probably see Born to Run back where their usual positions are moving forward.
It's going to be a long off season, though.
Yeah,
it's like I can't wait to start next year and draft again.
Yeah, I also always assume that everyone knows what's going on, but there are a couple owners that may not know that Born to Run is making a 2.5-hour drive to get to the studio every time they's come in.
Well worth it.
And so it's the Belchertown influence on Belchertown action reality fantasy football is down to me and Rifle and Huey Lewis.
Oh my goodness!
And that's it.
That is unbelievable.
Everyone else is scattered across the country.
Wow.
And out of the immediate area. So Rifle and Huey, it's always an open invitation to come by the studio. Everyone should know that. So, just get in touch.
When we going global, that's what I want to know.
Well, we need some viewership. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I think the Taylor Swift promo was our most viewed. And there are some weeks that we have not gotten the views that match the number of owners. in this league. And so, but it's a lot of fun.
As long as we like doing it, that's really it.
Yeah, so, we've got some great call-ins. We've had some great guest hosts in the studio. Yes,
That's right.
we're working on that video component that we seem to have gotten twisty on us, and we're gonna straighten that out over the next week.
Yeah, we got some big shows coming up.
We
So
got some big ones coming up. This year's playoffs are gonna be a great time.
yeah, and I think the odds again of maybe getting a first-time winner. So we got what, 3? Yep.
3 that could be first
Yeah.
time
So
winners.
50% chance.
Yep.
Yep. But the seedings, what I'd love to see is that the two of the would-be first-time winners don't play each other first round.
Yes, that would be.
I prefer not to see that.
Yeah,
Just
I
'cause-
haven't looked at the potential bracket, but that's something to talk about next week.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
So we'll look at the playoff bracket next week. That's the show for tonight. Thanks for those that joined up on the chat.
Yep,
It's
thanks for-
always better when we have participation from people. And
Huge shout out to No Lineup.
Sox fan weighed in. I don't want to cut him off. Don't give him that. So this is referring to you.
Yeah,
sir?
of course he is. He stunk.
He
No
stunk.
dancing
No
around it.
dancing around it.
Yeah, this is coming from a guy who doesn't even have a job that's living on the street. So
Oh, we love Sox fan. I always find it amazing that he's able to find Wi-Fi. All right, Walt, it was great to have you in the studio. Thanks for coming.
it was
on
great
this
being here as
week.
usual.
Sorry about the digs.
I love it.
We'll
I like the
figure something
bunker
out.
mentality now. That's how I feel.
It's cold down here in the basement. I know. I've been in the BARFF basement for a long time. And that's our show for the night. Good luck to all.
Good luck, everyone.